First speaker I would like to introduce is Roland Chavasse. Roland Chavasse, MBA, is the Secretary General of the International Lithium Association.
Thank you for the kind introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, Excellencies, traditional owners of the Whadjuk Noongar people and their leaders past, present and emerging, thank you for your time and consideration. As Kirsty said, we don't have a timer. Oh, we do have a timer, thank you. Okay, cool. So, first of all, we are the International Lithium Association, and today is all about the synergy that you can get from collaboration. Think of it as an insurance policy, think of it as a way of reducing costs and clearing the landscape from regulatory problems. Basically, when we come together, great things can happen. I think the lithium battery needs recharging. Oh, there we go. So, of course, being an association, I do have to mention antitrust. This basically means that I'm the only person in the room who can't talk about what's going to happen to the future prices, which, there it is. Antitrust and competition law is something which is absolutely essential to any functioning trade association. Now, 2024 was quite a big year for the lithium industry because it marked 100 years since the first industrial production took place in Germany. Originally, it was used in the brake blocks and the easels of the bearings on German railway wagons. Of course, these days it's got many more specialist applications, and here are just a few. Of course, in the last 24 years or so, this has been completely lopsided by the rechargeable batteries, primarily for electric vehicles, which we've heard about this morning. About 80% of lithium last year went into electric vehicle batteries, just as a ballpark figure. This, I hope, will explain sort of why now. Why are we talking about lithium today? Put simply, in the words of the founding chairman of our association, it is the lithium century. In the way that coal powered the first and second industrial revolutions, and then oil and gas took care of numbers 3 and 4. Currently, we're going through another transition, a once-in-a-lifetime transition, and this is going to be all about renewables, all about rechargeable energy, all about energy storage, all about lithium. Now, while this is very exciting, and to put some numbers on it, so the market's gone from, let's say, 65,000 tons of lithium carbonate equivalent in 2004 to this year, when it's about 1 million tons more than that, which is a phenomenal growth factor. And if we look ahead, present prices notwithstanding, one of our members, Albemarle, is predicting perhaps 3 million tons by 2030, which is a tripling in 6 years, which is a phenomenal level of growth. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've got friends in other industries, and they talk to me, they go, oh, things are so boring, we're growing at GDP plus. And I say, well, you know, in lithium, we're struggling to hold on to our seats because it's growing so fast. Now, good and bad, of course, when things grow very quickly, investors and explorers get involved, which is good for the market. Also, governments, regulators, civil society, and the media start paying attention. And this can bring other issues. On the kind of the meta scale, if we stand back, what we're looking at is essentially a decarbonisation of transport. And here we have about 20 countries who've all promised to get rid of internal combustion engines by 2050. This is, of course, against a backdrop of various net zero carbon claims and goals, some of which are really quite extraordinary. An extraordinary challenge on a global scale needs an extraordinary response on a global scale, and this is really where lithium comes in. I'm just going to skip through this because we haven't got much time, but there are many regulations all purporting to support or move society towards that goal of net zero. And of course, that was just 2 countries. There are many others. In the face of this rising interest, growing market, lots of more regulations, It helps enormously if we can come together and cooperate in a response. Not only does this save time and money, but also energy. And I think we can all agree that there's no point all of us going through the same hurdles, the same process to work out the carbon footprint of lithium if we can all come together and agree on a standard way of doing it, for example. The question was why ELIA as the convener for the lithium industry. This, which is a ridiculously small, detailed slide, I appreciate, but you get the idea of where our membership is based. So we have right up until the actual cell pack manufacturer, anode producer, which of course don't really have lithium, and the OEMs. We have all of that value chain up until that point in the value chain. These are our core members, so the big producers, who last year produced between 85 and 90% of all lithium supplied in the world. And these are our beautiful associate members, many of whom are at this conference, all of whom pass our very tough due diligence process. Yes, Atlantic is on there. Many of you are on there, I hope. So this is really our convening power, if you will. This is where we draw our great strength from. The diversity within this membership is actually the great strength, both geographical and from the value chain. We've seen the value chain, and in terms of the geography, so we've got 20% North America, 20% Europe, 20% China, 20% Australia, which of course means Western Australia, let's be frank. And the other 20% is dotted around the world. Now, our goal as an association is threefold. We are here to represent the industry, which means basically promoting it like this, but also being the complaints department. We also promote sustainable production, higher ESG standards, and we try and educate people. We publish a lovely little propaganda piece called The Lithium Voice, in which we tell the world how wonderful lithium is. It's all true, by the way. It is genuinely true. We've got some copies available if you like. In terms of what this means, all of this is funneling towards this concept that together we are stronger, together we can save costs, energy, de-risk the industry. So very briefly, we inform, convene, and advocate. We look after members' interests. For example, case studies now. The risk management option analysis. This is a way of tracking the life cycle of lithium atoms as they flow from carbonate and hydroxide through various complex intermediaries into the products which the OEMs and other applications use. Is it being handled correctly, stored correctly, packaged correctly? Are the workers protected? Are the public protected? This is a very significant piece of work. It's costing us almost a year's budget. It's the kind of thing which most industries do very early on. So, for example, Cobalt did this, I think, in the 1960s or so. But then again, their trade association was formed in 1957. Another example of how we work to improve the industry is through this ISO working group, the Technical Committee 333, which has recently partially merged with Technical Committee 248, which is the Rare Earths Working Group. There is a lot of similarities between rare earths and lithium, they tell us, and they assure us that in the same way that we promote working together, they also promote working together to save costs and time. So the key thing I'd like to tell you about today is this. So the product environmental footprint of lithium. This basically means what is the impact when we take it out. You'll have all heard analogies such as eggs and omelettes. I rather like the more beautiful analogy of taking an egg and drilling a small hole in it, and then drilling a hole at the bottom, and then you blow the egg and you can actually retain the shell so it makes a lot less waste. And then you can even paint the shell as well, if we take that analogy too far. Essentially, this is working out the impact in terms of the carbon, the water, other fundamental factors. This isn't just goodwill, it's actually required by many regulators. It's talked about by even more regulators, and the danger is that if we don't get in there as an industry and provide them with a solution, they might start to think about creating a solution themselves, which I think is probably best left to people who know what they're talking about within the industry. So, chapter 1 of the product environmental footprint is our product carbon footprint guidance. We have our founding chairman in the room. Anand, could you just put your hand up? We have some copies of this if you want to have a takeaway. It's a fascinating read. Only 50 pages, and you will sleep like a baby, I assure you. But it is a very serious piece of document, though, in all fairness. Over 50 organizations from all over the world took part in it, including Minviro. So Minviro is one of the leaders. But also, just to whip off a few names from this part of the world, we have Pilbara Resorts, who was very important. And then, of course, Arcadium, SQ, and Albemarle. The World Bank, Volkswagen's PowerCo division, and our friends over at Curtin University here in WA. So it was a real multi-stakeholder collaboration. Why is it important? It is important because for the first time this has been done, it has a uniform methodology. So no longer is the case that you could do a carbon footprint, I could do a carbon footprint, someone over there could do a carbon footprint, and we could all wave them in the air and say, this is the best carbon footprint in the world. No. It's now apples with apples. We all do our carbon footprints the same way, agnostic of where it comes from. It could be brine, it could be clay, it could be hard rock, it could be geothermal. They're comparable. You can line them up side by side, see the strengths and weaknesses of each one, and this helps downstream users, particularly the OEMs, make informed decisions about where they're going to source their lithium from. It also helps legislators. Legislators love to legislate. If you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. If you're a legislator, everything needs to be legislated. In Europe, they're particularly good at this, and they've got this new thing called the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, CBAM or CBAM, and this is basically a way of measuring carbon intensity of products. The idea being that you can't just dump all your carbon over the border and then ship it in and claim it's low carbon. No, because everyone is measuring the carbon in the same way. So they're very excited about this. Now, I know it looks like quite a chunky document, but I can tell you that this is a really slim document when it comes to carbon footprinting requirements. It's not another standard. We have not reinvented the wheel. We have just looked at all the different wheels and said that's the best one, with the best tires, with the best axle grease, and said, right, now we're all going to follow this standard guidance. It is concise. It is agnostic. You could do a brine in China and compare it directly to the carbon footprint of a hard rock up near Port Hedland. It would be done the same way. It's been done by consensus, and this is really important because in a global situation, you could have factionalism, you could have regionalism. No, this is global. We have people from all of the 7 continents, less Antarctica, of course, agreeing on how to do their carbon footprint, and we did it quickly. We did it before the regulators required it, which means it's got a very good chance of being adopted. Keeping an eye on the time. So 3 ways that it will be used in legislation, and 3 ways which it actually is already being talked about to be used in legislation. We've got the battery passport, which is this European way of basically having a little record of all the different carbon inputs in a car. The idea is you've got a nice QR code on your bumper and people walking down the street can scan it on their phone and go, damn, that car's got high carbon. Ooh, that car's got low carbon, because that's what we do, right? It's not a question of how fast it goes or what colour it is. The second one is the carbon border leakage mechanism, CBAM, which I just mentioned. The third one is taxonomy. So at least in Europe, and I'm told in other parts of the world, you can get quite heavy discounts if you prove that you are low carbon. One of the ways to prove that you are low carbon is to go through a carbon footprint analysis. How do you know it's a good one? Well, it's a good one if it's done with this, and it's got this little badge on it stating that it's been done to the internationally recognized standard. On a micro level, on your business, it can help you identify hotspots. It can help you, as an individual lithium producer, identify what gives off the most carbon, and then, of course, what gets measured, gets dealt with. You can reduce it, you can compare, you can offset it, etc. Not that we accept offsetting, but... Now, where to get it? So first of all, our founding chairman has some paper copies. Secondly, if you scan this QR code, and I'm told that this will work on the Paydirt YouTube channel as well. If you scan this QR code, it will take you through to where you can download it. It's free. There is no cost. We want to make this as widely available and acceptable as possible. Now, what happens next? We've done the carbon. And of course, to everyone, particularly in WA, who does the hard rock mining, they say, well, what about water? Water's the other major impact point for lithium production, of course, production and processing. That project is about to start, and I invite you, all of you who wish, to join this working group. There's no cost beyond sharing your expertise and time. We're going to create something very similar to this document for water. It's going to take about 6 months. No other association for commodities in the world has done this. So we are literally breaking new ground. We are the point of the spear, if you like, when it comes to product environmental footprint for commodities. And that's it. So the lithium industry is growing rapidly. You know that. Multi-stakeholder groups and shared projects are an essential way to manage and mitigate risks. I think you know that as well. Why? Because it's efficient and it's cost effective. It's good for your business, not only to come to our networking events like the one that we had last night at Fraser's restaurant over in Kings Park, attended by about 200 people, but also because it's actually good for your business on a bottom line level. And that's it. The International Lithium Association, we represent the global voice for the entire value chain. And I give you back 2 minutes and 40 seconds of your morning. Thank you.